Imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon or imposterism, is a psychological occurrence in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud, especially feeling like a phony in some areas of their life, despite any success they may have achieved in that area. And unfortunately, it seems to happen more with high-performing women than it does with their male counterparts or even subordinates. So today, myself and my guest, the More Coach, Monica Nnoka, will help us better understand how to recognize, address, manage, and hopefully conquer imposter syndrome. Monica Nnoka, also known as the More Coach, is an entrepreneur, UK certified mind and transformational coach, poet, and author. She's the founder and president of More Authenticity Limited and More from More Foundation for people who live on the streets. She's passionate about helping middle-aged individuals gain clarity, develop unshakable confidence in the more within, and take action to live the more authentic and impactful life they desire. She was in the banking industry in Nigeria for about 10 years before focusing on her entrepreneurial and business consulting business. She helps individuals build businesses for themselves in line with their purpose. Welcome, the More Coach. I'm super excited about this. I really, really am, because imposter syndrome.
Thank you so much, Feran. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. So I've gone ahead of you and defined imposter syndrome. But from your perspective, what is it?
All right, so imposter syndrome, simply put, is a mask that you're wearing, something that you're not, an imposter, right? Something that keeps you away from being, or keeps you away from your authentic self, showing up as your authentic self. That's what an imposter is. And most times people have to put up these masks because they feel they are not good enough.
Why do they end up feeling they're not good enough?
Because of trauma, bullying, because of conditioning, because of the things they have told themselves, or because just, what has happened to them in life. Say, for instance, someone who had life, so easy, was top in their class, or, had success at a very early age. When life happens to them and they struggle with their skills showing up, as consistently as they used to, when they were A students and all of that, when they struggle, they begin to equate their struggling with a lack of capabilities or capacity. They don't have the capacity to do what they are supposed to do or be who they should be, and then they lose confidence.
So how does one then address that? Because you said the example you've given, the person is a high achiever.
Yes.
And then suddenly life happens.
Yes.
And
life always happens.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that?
So if someone that used to do very well in school, maybe used to be tops in their class, and is faced with a part of their life where they have to struggle to get it right, to be on top, then they have to go through the process, trust the process, take these steps to gradually move through. Everything is not going to be the same. They just need to understand and love themselves through the process. Understand that they have to also learn the skills,
You make it sound easy. But
okay.
There are a lot of people, particularly women, seemingly particularly women, who walk around with imposter syndrome. Where did it originate from? And how can one deal with it?
All right, so let me give you an example. And this is a very good example. I have a client. She's in the US, and she's been told by her father all her life that she was not good enough. All right, so she internalized this. And imposter syndrome is showing up in her life by her being an overachiever, trying to prove to the world that she can do this, right? She's done everything. She's done 2 master's degree. She's done an MBA, and right now she's also in her PhD, doing all sorts of things. But that's not what she really wants. She's doing all of that to prove to the world that she can do it, right?
Because
She's
somebody
not
else
the
would say
failure.
that that's a good thing. She's doing all of those things.
Yes, but the motive is the challenge. Yes. So the imposter makes you take the role of another person. And when you're not your thing, everybody is unique. I am unique, you are unique. I'm here on the planet to do something different from what you are here to do. And so if I try to do exactly what someone else is doing just to prove that I'm an achiever, then I have boxed my true self, right? And my authentic self cannot be brought to the tracks of life. So I cannot contribute to the world the unique gifts and qualities I have here to give. So that's a problem.
I hear you, but it seems almost contradictory or counterintuitive, because you're a high achiever, but then you're not fulfilling purpose. The assumption is that if you're a high achiever, you're fulfilling purpose.
All right, so being a high achiever doesn't mean that you're fulfilling purpose. Okay. You may be doing so well, on the wrong side of the wall. You may be climbing so high the ladder on the wrong wall, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you're fulfilling purpose. You may just be very good at doing something that you are not, that is not fulfilling to you, something that you know that you're not called. I'm an example. So I used to be a banker. That was not what I wanted to do when I came here. But when I left school, I took on that role because it was popular at the time. So I became a banker. And I did very well. I became a business manager in the bank. And I, in fact, I was a perfectionist. I had imposter syndrome as well. So I can tell you very well that I was doing so well. My bosses, really loved my work. In fact, everyone thought I was doing really well. But I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I knew it. There was this hole, this emptiness I felt, the vacuum I felt. Even though I was doing so well, I wasn't fulfilled, right? So I could sit up at 2 a.m. and ask myself, is there more to life than this, right? Because I knew there was so much more, but I wasn't there. But I was seen as doing really well. I became a business manager really fast for my level, and I was performing well. I was paid well. I
so
stayed in the back industry.
How did you then pivot? How did you then go from recognizing that you were not fulfilled and you had imposter syndrome to then pivoting and doing what you felt was your purpose?
All right, so when I lost the job in 2015, right, I now recognized that I had, there was an error in the way I looked at myself, my identity. My primary identity was my job. So I had to stop first of all and then sort out my identity crisis, right? And when I did that, I found out that I was more focused on the results and pleasing people and what society had served me as the meaning of success, right? And then I decided to redefine my own idea of success. So losing of my job was one of the best things that happened to me because it woke me up to my purpose, my mission here on earth, right? My true mission here on earth. So when I was able to sort out what success truly meant to me, I wasn't going to try to please the world. I wasn't trying to give people what they expected of me, right? I wasn't setting unnecessarily high standards for myself anymore. I was just interested in my mission here on earth, because there's so much more to us than we think. And most times the influences from the outside, the external influences, is so strong. The noise on the outside is so strong that we're not listening to the voice on the inside, right? And so we stifle that inner person that is here to shine, because we want to be what the world wants us to be. And because of that, we're trying our best to be that. The best you can be is a second best of what you're not, right? When you do not, if you do not match or do not meet up to the expectations of that second, of that best, which you know you can't be, right? You start to feel less confident. But when you are who you should be, right, you would always be number one. You would always be the best. I can be the best of Monica always, at every point in time, because no one can be the more coach Monica.
So I hear you, and it really does resonate. But if we go back to the foundation, which I believe is family, parents, raising children, how do parents begin to recognize that they may be setting their children up for having challenges based on imposter syndrome, and how do they begin to navigate through that?
Well, parents need more self-awareness. They need to...
Self-awareness, not
Yes.
child awareness.
No, self-awareness, because most times the parents are projecting their fears and all that have their experiences on their children, right? So when the child does something and the parent should correct lovingly, they usually have the best intention, but their expression is wrong, because they are also reacting from their trauma the parents had. And then the idea, the way we've been taught to parent, that has been passed on from generation to generation, is actually legalizing bullying. So parents are usually like the first bullies we experience. Yes, very
True.
deep, but very true.
True. That can be seen as harsh, but
But very true.
Yeah.
So yesterday I was at the airport coming back to Lagos, because I went for a training in another state, and I saw a little boy, walking with his sister. His sister was holding his hands, and the floor was slippery while we were waiting for the luggages to come out. And then I just saw the boy slip and fall, and the first thing the mom did was pull his ears. I was rushing to help this boy get up, and the mom's reaction was pull his ears and warn him sternly, ask him if he wanted to go back, and this boy started crying. So when he fell, he didn't even cry, but what the mom did made him cry. And I looked, I was like, wow, shouldn't that have attracted some kind of sympathy or empathy from the mom? And she was, pulling his ears. And I looked at the mom, she looked at me, but she still didn't recognize what she did. And I started asking myself the question, if the same thing had happened to the mom, if she had slipped, right, the same way that boy has slipped, she would have expected that everybody would come around, help, oh, so sorry, or, and all of that. But she didn't think this boy that he's like maybe 4 years old, deserved that kind of treatment.
So how do we then retrace our steps?
So the first thing is to ask ourselves, when we see our children doing, when we feel triggered by what our children do, the first question is to ask ourselves is, are we triggered by what the child is really doing, or is there something else? You know, is it connected to our past, or our past experience, or how a parent treated us, or all that? What we should do is, first of all, just give at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to cool down, so that we do not react to what the child has done, but respond and correct, in love. And most times our words, the words what we serve these children is usually very cutting. The child will love you no matter what you say to them, but they won't love themselves. They'll feel they are less competent, they will lose their confidence, they will think they are not good enough. In fact, perfection, the perfectionism that we see, and we think the person just wants everything to be perfect, is actually coming from a place of unworthiness. So I think I'm really unworthy, so I need to make sure that everything is perfect, so that I will be seen as worthy, I will be loved, I will be valued, right? So they equate their results to their identity, right? So they actually do not love themselves.
So, okay, this is deep.
Yeah.
The child has grown up. Unfortunately, the mistakes have happened. That child is a high achiever, but that child is an adult walking around with imposter syndrome. How does that child, now turned adult, begin to retrace their steps? They may not even recognize that they have imposter syndrome. How do they begin to retrace their steps?
Okay, so I, for example, didn't even know I had imposter syndrome. And let me tell you how it manifested in my life. It can manifest in different ways. So I was a perfectionist, right? A perfectionist, and I made sure that I was at the office always. I wanted to make sure everything I did was 100% right. If it wasn't right, I wouldn't, release it. I wouldn't send out that report. So I could stay up all night researching, making sure everything's okay, all of that. And then I wasn't delegating my work. Work as a business manager, I should delegate more, so that people can benefit from what it is. They learn on the job as well. I wasn't delegating because I thought nobody can do it like me. Right, so I was doing it that
it's
way.
Like yes, you're something like me. Okay.
So, and then, some people talk negatively to themselves, that negative talk and all of that, talk down on themselves. And I was over-crediting people, for what they did, their part in what I was doing. Even though they did little. So I was trying to please some people. So it was showing up in that way. But I didn't know that it was imposter syndrome. So until I started seeing a coach, until I got a coach, and then I found out, self-awareness also plays a part. When I started this self-awareness journey.
But there's something that triggers you to make you even start that self-awareness journey.
So most people, a valley moment, right? Pain pushes you. When I heard that, it was really, really profound for me. Pain pushes you until your vision pulls you. So pain kept pushing me to begin to see that I wasn't authentic. Right, and then that was when it was clear to me that I was doing this from a place of pain, a place of inauthenticity, rather than who I truly am. And that's why I became the more coach, really, because I found out I experienced all of that to help more people become aware of the more within.
Okay. When I said I wanted to talk about imposter syndrome, I don't think I knew what I was actually doing, because we've run out of time and we need a part 2.
Obviously.
We really do, because there's still a lot more that needs to be, peeled back. But we've got the beginnings of where to go. So your thing is people need to become more self-aware.
Yes.
And parents need to become more mindful.
Exactly.
Okay.
So people need to observe their thoughts.
People
think about what they are thinking about, then you will know the origin of your thoughts.
And on that note, we've come to the end. But that was key. People need to observe their thoughts and think about the origin of their thoughts. Thank you so much. Honestly, time, just runs away with us. So thank you so, so much for coming. And we will please be doing a part 2. Please.
No problem.
I will call you later about that. But yes, we've come to the end. Always too short. But hopefully we've been able to at least get you thinking about what imposter syndrome is and how you can navigate through it to begin to live a more authentic life. John, Helen, and myself are going to, as usual, very quickly round up the show. So please stay tuned for a few more minutes. Thank you.